same ones? Minutes. All right. It's been a good few minutes. Let me give me a moment here to close my window because it is a day ending in Y, which means that my neighbor is mowing the lawn. And you might not be able to hear it, but it is pretty loud for me.
Hello.
Hello. All right. That's better. Okay. After that start, there was practically 5 minutes of silence. Welcome everybody to the 32nd monthly Campfire chat. Probably expecting this to be a shorter one and more lightly attended, just given the fact that it is the Easter weekend. So there's probably a good number of people who are out and about right now. But nonetheless, it is scheduled that we do these the first Saturday of every month. It is the first Saturday of the month. Therefore, we are obligated to do this. If not, we will combust into flames. And I do not want to do that. So we're here. Let me just skim through, see who all is here. Draft Chimp, of course. I saw Zobes and Nick pop in like instantly. Blast Zenith, I think I've seen the name before. Two hyphens. Okay. And then I think for once we have more devs and mods than we do anyone else. Usually there's like two or three devs here, and then it's like 20 other people, but not today, I guess. And then we got seeing people in the chat who aren't even in the voice call. Okay. Are you guys watching on Twitch? RPG says, I modded the game to have a pod racing minigame using the existing engine, but made it have a turning arc like a car, checkpoint-based racing. I highly recommend this being made part of the main branch, but I haven't shared it yet. I mean, it actually kind of ties into the only response we have. Oh, there's a second one now. But the only response we did have, kind of along those same lines. I guess since it's only the one, I'll just jump into it. So somebody submits here. I'm one of the blind players who found the game and fell in love with it. It's brilliant. I'm asking, please, for the devs to include accessibility, like what we have done in our own mod for the game, please. I have shared on Discord what we've done. Please implement accessibility into this game. We've proven it can be done. I, for one, would love to play future updated versions of the game. It really is excellent. Many thanks, Dax from Discord. If you already did it, if somebody already did it, the game is open source. You can just open a pull request. You don't have to ask us like, hey, can you add this thing I did? That's what GitHub is for. Same thing with checkpoint racing. If it's a feature request, it should be an issue. If you have the feature done, that's what a pull request is for. On the topic of accessibility options like this, yeah. I don't see why we wouldn't do it, but like I said, if it's done, then open a pull request. Not really much more to say on that.
As long as it's your own work.
Yeah, Warp points out the person who I saw doing it did it with Claude. We're not going to merge their work. Yeah. No AI generated content in the game. But the point still stands. If you're making a feature request, please open a GitHub issue so we can track it. Because otherwise, questions on Discord get lost very easily unless somebody writes them down. The second submitted question, not a question. Thank you so much for this game. Heart emoji. You're welcome. Well, that's all our submitted questions today, so I guess we're done here. Nah, somebody left. We can just have a general discussion. Oh, now we're getting more. Somebody's like, oh, I don't want it to end early. Are the devs interested in adding trading tycoon mechanics, such as tasking a fleet of cargo ships to deliver specific cargo to a planet you specified without having to lead the fleet? No. This has actually been asked for. This is an older request I remember seeing a long time ago. The focus of the game. Actually, I'm just going to say something I said on an issue, or I think it was a pull request review I made, where I said something along the lines of, as much as people like to think this is a fleet management game, it's not. We're not looking to add mechanics where you can order your members of your fleet to go do jobs somewhere else automatically for you. We're not like adding all sorts of in-depth fleet controls. This is also why, for the longest time, we have not looked at something like ship folders, which was asked about last time, and but wasn't explained what that means. Not to say, I mean, this is definitely something we're not going to do. I'll tell you that. But not to say that we won't make certain aspects of managing a fleet easier. But the goal of the game is not for you to build up a massive fleet of hundreds of ships to control the galaxy. The point of the game is far more about the story of the game, which is a more personal you and the characters you're interacting with, not you as a commander of hundreds of ships, practically being your own military, interacting with other people. Is there a mod for controlling levels of throttle? No. Left Fish says rule suggestion. Anyone caught using generative AI to contribute to this game gets a nuke straight to the face. We open the cage that has Latrol in it. If anyone remembers that still. Fortunately / unfortunately, devs are not the U.S. government, says SirDerpyHorse. Yeah.
The EV forklift.
Nick says, I'm working on another game that is Claude only, kind of ironic. I mean, we're not saying you can't use AI anywhere in your life. We're just saying for the purposes of the game, do not. I have to use it for work. And then I come home and I decompress by programming with my own two hands. Yeah, Warp says there's another submission. Somebody asks, can we get a quick rundown on what you / other devs have been working on? Not quite a preview of the next patch, but what people are up to. Warp's answer to that is, if you want to find out what we're doing, subscribe to the GitHub repository. Correct. Again, the game is open source. Part of being open source means you can see everything that's going on. You don't even need to be able to read the code. Just read the commit messages and the pull requests that they link to, and then you can see what sort of things that are being worked on or have been merged. If you want a quick rundown, though, aside from that, Warp, I do think it would be nice to give a quick rundown. For myself, do you want to go ahead, Song?
I'll be good cop and I'll say what I've been up to because it's not on GitHub. Not quite yet. Personally, I've been reviewing Tier 3 on stream. I did a stream on it last weekend to play through the content. I'm going to do another one probably tomorrow. And I'm looking to get that in for the update. And then maybe the Successors PR, not sure.
All right. For myself, I have a bunch of pull requests open. I was probably going to go through these and do some of my own review and then just merge them later. No one else is looking at them. Although, okay, I actually will talk about this one I opened recently. So right now, if you have a scanner outfit installed on one of your escorts, it does nothing. Completely useless. Wasted space. I don't like that. I've been thinking lately, like, we should probably make it so that the scanners on your ships, on your escorts, can actually be used by you. And then somebody on Steam actually opened a thread and asked the question, do the scanners on my escorts do anything? And somebody chimed in and said, I think asteroid scanners might do something, but I'm not sure. The others don't. And I was like, no, none of them do. Although since I've been thinking about this and somebody just brought it up, I was like, you know what? I'm going to work on it. So as of right now, in pull request number 12383, I am making it so that, at the very least, asteroid and tactical scanners on your escorts can be used by you. If you have any ship in your fleet with a asteroid scanner, then all the asteroids near that ship you will be able to target and select as if you had the asteroid scanner on your own ship. And then same with tactical scanners. If the ship that you have selected as your target is within range of the tactical scanners of any of the ships in your fleet, then you will be able to get the information for that. I do want to expand this to also work with cargo and outfit scanners so that when you hold the scan button, it will check to see, is there an escort near that ship? If there is, then use that, the escort that has a scanner on it. Use that scanner, if possible. And then, along with that, you would also want the ship with the scanner to be commanded to move towards the target automatically, most likely, instead of you needing to manually tell your ship, hey, follow this other ship, and then hit the scan key. It would probably make a lot more sense if it was automatic. Send scanner escorts towards the target ship. I mean, yeah, that is a possibility, but I would like to make it an automatic thing, just so it's less friction there. Kind of like how right now, if you tell your ships to target or actually backing up, if there is flotsam that's floating around, your escorts will not manually target it. You can send a command to tell your escorts to harvest nearby flotsam. This includes flotsam dropped by mineable asteroids, so the little chunks of ore. If you wanted to, you could command your ships to practically go steal ore from someone else if you gave them the harvest command. But if you give your ships the command to attack an asteroid, they will destroy the asteroid, then automatically, after the asteroid is destroyed, flip over to the harvesting behavior and automatically harvest it for you as well. Now, technically, we could make it so these are always two different functions. You have to attack the asteroid, notice it's destroyed, then manually tell your ships, hey, go collect the thing you just blew up. But, again, this is one of those cases where, just for the sake of quality of life, let's say, we'll make it so it's a bit more automatic. Czech Warrior asks, Devs, how are you doing today? Very important question. I'm doing well. Anyone else? More lore when? Every update. There's always something new. Speaking of which, next update is in 3 weeks. So look forward to that. A white name? What the? To whoever has been working on the Lunarium/Heliarch conflict, is there the possibility that we are getting a future campaign where we can fight with the Lunarians? And Iraqi responds, go to the Coalition Dev Room. Yes, that is still in the works. Blast Zenith asks, what's going to be in the update? Let's take a skim through what's been merged so far. Just checking the milestone. You can now target mineable asteroids with secondary weapons that have the homing capability, and the projectiles will track the missiles, or track the minables. Right now in the game, the missiles will just fly straight, as if they didn't have a target. There will be... Oh, I mean, this is a big one. So for a while now, we have had the ability to modify certain game rules. Game rules are literally just constants that change the behavior of the game. think of Minecraft. But we've never had them in-game. Like, you couldn't actually go in-game and change things. That will now be the case, that you can do that. There will be a panel you can access. Whenever you start a new pilot, underneath the button to actually start the pilot, there will be or maybe it's under the button that goes back. But in any case, on the the page where you're picking your starting scenario, there will be a game rules button that lets you choose which game rule constants you use. Right now, there's not a whole lot there, but we do hope to add more with various updates just to kind of flesh out that page and also add some more interesting things to the game. One such mechanic that is being worked on is a permadeath / Iron Man mode. I also have a pull request open for that. I will note, if you have a save file that is from before this update, so if you're playing the game right now, your save files will have access to the game rules panel. When you're on the main panel of the game rules button will also be there for you to open up the panel and edit things. If you want, you can disable this. There is a specific game rule called lock game rules. It's basically like the option in Minecraft to enable or disable cheats, where if you disable cheats, then you can't actually type cheat commands. In the same way, if you lock the game rules, you cannot edit the game rules from in the game when you are using that pilot. The reason that we decided to make it so that the button shows up on old save files is just because old save files never got the opportunity to even make that option of whether or not they want to be able to edit the game rules. But any new pilot, unless you explicitly say, I want the game rules to be available to me to change after I've created the pilot, that will be disabled. What else? There was a crash that I'm surprised we didn't get more reports for that's been fixed. Although that's probably just because it was a beta release. So maybe not a whole bunch of people were playing around with it. There was a crash that plugins could cause if they had an invalid person chip. This was found out with Midnight Plugins. What else? Looks like we had a few different crashes we fixed this update. Crash when mining Yoderite, crash when landing on a Quark planet, crash when using an outdated high DPI plugin. Fun stuff. And let me skim through the commit, see if there's anything else of note. This has been a bit of a long-term request. The trading panel right now has buttons to buy and sell. There's also a button to sell everything at once. If you had outfits and cargo, that would be included in selling everything. There are now separate buttons for selling outfits versus selling stuff like minables and commodities. Think Zobes with work from unordered from that one. Quarg ships now have a unique explosion effect. That one's a little bit of eye candy.
Just a little bit of purplish blue explosions.
Let's see. Another crash that was fixed. Okay, this one's actually interesting. It turns out that the Dragon Flame cannon has not been working as intended for a long time. So, whenever the game creates an explosion, it was creating the explosion at the wrong location. For most weapons, this was not noticeable. But for the Dragon Flame cannon, it actually meant that, practically speaking, the Dragon Flame Cannon's explosion effect was not working if you weren't using it at point blank range. It will now properly create an explosion at the point of impact with the target. This also impacts the grid fire. The grid fire has a small explosion effect at the point of impact that was also broken. So that's been fixed now. Continuing to skim through. I think that's kind of everything. Lots of crash fixes, the game rule stuff. Some minor UI updates here and there. It doesn't look like we have anything big content-wise that's been added so far, but as Sog said, he would like to get to some of the currently open content pull requests that do add a considerable amount of new content to the game. Vibe asks, when do we have our own station or planet? And somebody reacts, unlikely. Whenever you install Ursa Polaris, we're probably not going to have a vanilla storyline where you get your own station or planet, but there are plugins like Ursa Polaris that allow you to do that.
Description.
Zob says, I think I understand permadeath, but I don't understand Iron Man mode. They're just two different words for the same thing. Some games call it Iron Man mode, some games call it permadeath. I used both, the language of both, in the pull request description, just because that's what the issue said. I think the issue I referred to uses the term Iron Man mode. Nana says, I thought clicking the sell all button once would just do commodities and the second press would sell outfits. Yes, but the problem was that it would, for some people, it could be very easy to accidentally double click and then sell all your outfits without realizing you sold outfits. And this is especially problematic if you are on a planet that doesn't have an outfitter, because then you can't get those back. So if you had a jump drive on you and you accidentally sold it, then oops, now you're stuck, assuming that you can't get another one. Zob says there's a lot of stuff out there that's half done. Yeah, I expect a considerable amount of things to be merged in these last few weeks here. RPG says a huge quality of life update would be able to pay to have deserted ships delivered to the system you're in. How did they get deserted? There's a how would that be balanced too? There's certain ships that you can technically capture, but you can't get them out of the location they're currently in. We would probably want to have some sort of limitation on where you can have ships delivered to you from. Nana says it's kind of surprised that nobody had adopted the Ursa Polaris plugin, to be honest. I mean, I suppose. But how many, in the history of all the plugins in the game, how many have been left behind by the original author and then picked up by someone else? I can think of one. But not any others. RPG says that Endless Sky is what Starfield should have been if it was good. Let's go. Vibe asks, is there a feature in Endless Sky to have space stations attacking enemy ships? Not yet. I do want to add something like that. That's another one of those long-standing feature requests. Nana says like if you looted the engines or power before capturing them, maybe. Yeah, that is something that has been talked about before. I think there's an open issue to make it so that you're at least warned, like, hey, the ship you're about to capture like cannot leave this system because you captured its hyperdrive or you stole its engines, something along those lines. I do want to add that. Potentially even make it so that ships that are in that state can't even be captured, just so you're not wasting your time. That's probably more likely than being able to have a ship transported from any odd location. Check Warrior says I'm getting ignored, frowny face. There's a lot of people talking, man. I can't see every single message. I'm just kind of skimming. Although it looks like we have a lot more stuff submitted now, so I can go back to that. I'm going to continue ignoring that question, actually.
Is that a real question? Or were you memeing? I guess I'll ask it. What do the devs think about a third category for larger fighters for things like bombers?
I would want to first add the ability for bays to hold multiple categories of ships.
Mm-hmm.
Because otherwise, so like right now, for example, in human space, the number of options you have for drone carriers is very small. Now, granted, you also don't have a lot of drones, but if we made it so that like a bomber bay could also hold fighters and drones, that wouldn't gimp you into only being able to probably install a single fighter or a single bomber rather in that bay.
The only reason why I'm kind of like, oh, sorry.
Do you want to go? I was just going to read warps. Fighters are already only marginally smaller than interceptors, so that's another thing that might be like why we would just never do that.
Like the way I see it, for carryables, they're kind of split off more into like capability than they are like class. So drones and fighters have a unique separation right now, but that's not to say other ships aren't just like medium warship, light warship. Those are just slightly differences in like stats and speed and stuff like that. But the scale of fighters and like how Warp said, I think the difference between a fighter and a bomber is going to be very minimal for it to need like a second class because they're just fighter balance is so hard to work around because even just one more gun on a fighter or one more like more space for a weapon, like a heavier weapon for a bomber, is just significant enough to make it a very powerful ship. So it's kind of like what is a bomber? Is it a fighter that's carrying like 3 torpedo launchers or something like that? And at that point, I mean, that would be a fighter carrying 3 torpedo launchers. I don't know. Separate categories so you can carry fewer of them.
He's referring to thinking about the size. I think bomber is just an example. A term I've used in the past for a category larger than a fighter was gunship. But
see, that'd be like I'd almost put gunship between like interceptor and it's just like such a small scale, like in between interceptor and fighter, that these suggestions seem to fit into that are very niche. I know you said, Azure said the diamonds could be bombers because they're very large fighters, but that's more so because of how Shiragi ships and like their technology works. It's like overall kind of large technology to begin with. So it's not that they have larger bombers; it's that their fighters are significantly like larger than human ships or something like that. It gets into the whole like is this ship a medium warship versus a heavy warship bit. Um, but what you're saying, in terms of like how many can you hold, I guess that's a good point. Like you're not going to hold 8 fighters that all have a bomber loadout. Maybe you can only hold 4 bombers with a bomber loadout and then more fighters or something like that. So maybe that's something to consider.
Warps I'd imagine it'd
Whoops.
be more useful to add a more flexible way to define carryable ships and bays so that so many things aren't tied to carryability, like assisting allies, rather than adding a new category of larger carryables to the vanilla game.
Rather than adding a new category? Okay.
I mean, I
Yeah,
think that's getting the idea of some people have said in the past, why not make it so that bays aren't category locked? It's more so like tonnage. How big of a ship can you put in this bay?
I mean, of all interceptors I can think of, the Spearo is definitely something that could be like a carryable, but I guess like would we like edit existing ships to have that kind of functionality? Like, would a carrier be able to carry some pretty like large ships over fighters or something like that, or would it be something more for like alien factions? I don't know. What do you think, Warp? Yeah, that was a little bit of a trail off. If you wanted to get back to the other questions, or I could get through them. I see. April Fool's
I
update
mean,
when?
so they'd be as useful as a puffin, yeah. Maybe the real April Fool's update was the friends we made along the way. Alright, well, back to the submitted questions. Where Republic campaign?
2 months
In
added
each of
to the
us.
time.
It's in our hearts, and our minds. In-game plugin management when? Whenever that pull quest gets finished. What happened to the AI that alphas gave to the syndicate? Quarantined. I'm not going to read that next one. Did the devs watch the Artemis 2 launch? I don't know, did
I
they?
heard about it.
I saw it
I
was
did not.
April 1st, and I was like, that's a joke, and I just moved on.
What do you mean? The second moon landing is just as fake as the first one.
This is, yes, this is a subtle hint from the lizard overlords that the moon landing was fake when they put the next moon mission launch on April 1st. I'm not really sure what this next question is asking. Are you guys interested in adding more Milky Way star systems? Um, I mean, the game is set in the Milky Way, and whenever we add a new faction, we have to add new systems for them. So, by extension, yes.
I'm willing to guess this is a suggestion to add more systems like with scientific names, like that exist in real life, and
We've used them all already. There's no more left. Trust me.
we've used a
Don't even
lot.
look. No, we're not adding Tau
Yeah.
Ceti. I'm skipping
Yeah.
the next question too. Is it possible to make fighter bays that can only
He already
carry a
did
specific
that.
kind of fighter? Yeah, we just talked about that. Practically. Is it possible to add outfits that alter fighter bays? No. Okay. For outfits that add gun ports, turrets, fighter bays, drone bays, whatever, there's a fundamental issue that really is not easy to solve. A bay or a weapon hardpoint has a location on the ship. If we add an outfit that adds more bays, where does that go? On the ship. We can't just stick it smack dab in the middle of the ship because there's some ships where the middle of the ship is empty. So where does it go? It's not really an easily solvable problem.
A lot of the arguments in the past also say it kind of devalues carriers because that's their identity. And
Yes.
one of the biggest issues actually in the game, this game's inspired by Escape Velocity, was you would end up with things like interceptor-sized ships or medium warship-sized ships getting rid of all of their weapon space, outfit space, engine space, like as minimum as possible to be able to fit as much fighters as possible. So you'd have like a smaller ship flying around with like a massive carrier's load of fighters if you did it the right way. And that is also something I think we'd want to avoid.
Yeah. The way that I've talked about it in the past is that whenever you buy a ship, you know, the statistics of that ship, how much outfit space it has, the number of guns, the number of bays, like that's kind of like your base. You can mix and match the outfits that fit inside of that all you want. But if you want more bays or you want more guns, the solution is to find another ship with more bays or more guns. The solution is not for us to add a outfit to the game that allows you to practically turn any ship into any other ship. This is a similar reason why we don't really have outfits that increase the HP of a ship, because the amount of hull and shields that a ship has is also kind of deeply tied into its identity. And it's the identity of the ship that we want to keep the same. Warp says small ships, quote, small ships were more fun to use in EV than in Endless Sky, unquote. Because the small ships you used in EV also had all the pit positives that big ships have, yeah. Alfred asks, in oncoming updates, do we see more ships or weapons? If we add more ships or weapons, you'll find them. But we don't like try to add new ships and weapons and outfits every single update. It's really just a matter of what ends up being worked on. Sometimes it's a bunch of stories, sometimes it's a bunch of new mechanics. Usually it's a mix of various things.
It's not a bad word. Escape Velocity is the game series that Endless Sky was inspired on, inspired by.
All right, next question. Are there plans to make crews more than just a number/resource? No.
No.
In the same way, this isn't a fleet management game, it's not a crew management game either. Sure says we're adding a crew dating sim.
No.
Have a look at the is there a Wikipedia page for feature creep? There is. Boom. As far as gameplay mechanics like fleet management and being able to command your ships to make money for you and being able to name your crew or something like that and colonize planets and stations. Again, this is just not that game. Just because it's open source and we're available for you to suggest things to doesn't mean everything gets done. Can we rename stolen ships? Yes, you can. It's actually like kind of a hidden feature, but if you go to the player info panel and then click on the name of the ship in the top left, it'll pull up a dialog box for you to rename that ship. There might also be a button for it. If there isn't, we should add one. But that's the way I recall. When's Endless Sky releasing on the Play Store? Never. If you're referring to the Google Play Store, that is. The Android port of the game is not maintained by us. That is maintained graciously by the Weird Nut. The game is published on the F-Droid store for that, if I recall correctly. Play Store stuff, there is like weirdness with Google that we don't want to worry about. So it's not going to be on the Google Play Store. Dang, Warp. Assure says getting a restraining order against this feature creep. Funny. Copy paste in the ship name box would be nice. Yeah. I think there's actually something open for that. The Weird Nut has a pull request that includes that.
Hello, is Selza on Twitch following Derpy's stream since 3 minutes ago?
Yeah, I saw that. Oi. Are we going to see player age on feature update? Huh?
Probably means future.
Define player age. And the sky now featured in Fortnite? Question. Yeah, Warp says you can see playtime on the main menu and in the player info panel. That's technically a form of player age. I think they want us to die of old age to force a game to end. Yeah, we'll add I mean, somebody could do that as a plugin. Like, not even kidding. You could create a plugin that when date equals start date plus 70 years. Create an unskippable mission that just kills the player. When will we get dementia as a gameplay feature, allowing us to forget our ships and take? Can you
That's
beat
already a
Minecraft
feature.
with dementia? You could even create RNG missions for dying of disease or something. Yes, you could. You can also have multiple random rolls in technically multiple random rolls is not really useful now that we have the roll option, a roll condition where you can roll any arbitrary number. But yeah, you could have a mission that is like on 1 in a million chance every landing you get a heart attack and die. Slowly increased chance of heart failure randomly taking out first last, yeah. If a random roll from 1 to a million is less than some value that increases every year, It starts at 1 and we multiply by 2. The confusion increases the longer your save goes on. When I added the 300th anniversary Republic mission, I almost also added a 400th anniversary joke complimentary mission just because my main pilot was closer to the 400th than the 300th. I mean, hey, there's nothing stopping you from adding it. Yeah, sure says you should have kept it.
Try not to add instant death in this guy speedrun.
One thing that would be Kino, being able to visit the old man from the tutorial. Is this in-game already? Nope. But if you install Ursa Polaris...
All right, well, we're getting up on the hour
It's a
here, and
local
you guys are
cave.
just saying memes now. So,
Yeah, I'm probably going to wrap this up here in a bit.
you got any more last-minute questions or curiosities?
The devs hate my Avgi Bomber idea. I mean, hey, technically, there's nothing stopping you from just making it a fighter. If it's strong enough that that's a problem, then you should nerf it. Had a very slow, indestructible nuke that internally chases the player's ship. How's the Syndicate campaign going? And it's not.
Um,
I mean, there's actually nothing stopping you from adding a snail mission. You just spawn a ship that, like in a random location across the entire game, and just have it constantly try and get to the player. Just give it infinite fuel, a hyperdrive, a jump drive, make it really slow. It'll constantly be following you.
the Immortals.
And then give it a yeah, you make a special pressure chip with a weapon that does infinite damage but it has no range. Yeah, give it like a very small range but insane damage. So as soon as it gets close to you, boom, you're dead.
Yeah, and right before it hits you, it disappears, and you're going to suffer an eternal life of immortality.
If it touches you, your save is deleted. Is there a way to slow down an NPC's ability to jump? No, there's not, but I was thinking about that, talking about this. I have a very old issue about adding a way to make it so that you have to take time to charge up your hyperdrive. Because right now, all you have to do is align your ship to where you're jumping to, and then once you're aligned, you go. But I think it would be interesting to have a way to make it so that the hyperdrive has some sort of cooldown period. Now, this wouldn't be like vanilla, probably, or at least not on the main hyperdrive you're able to use. But I would like just the idea of the mechanic to be in there. So then you could use it for something like this, or some special ship in a mission. Maybe, I mean, this would actually be interesting for an NPC in a mission, like an escort mission where, actually, first, what we would need to do is make it so that you can't just leave an escort behind, and if you try to, it'll be attacked. But if we do that, then you could have a mission where you have a ship with a damaged hyperdrive, and it takes time to actually jump. But while it's taking time to align to jump, you're being attacked constantly, and you have to defend this like a proper escort mission, you know. that everyone hates in all the other games.
I was gonna say, I mean, I don't know if we could do that to the vanilla hyperdrive, and then all escort missions would you'd actually need to not just
You'd
jump and
be,
leave it behind.
yeah, you'd be. I mean, you'd be forced to stick with your escort at that point because you would take time. Probably not doing that though. Korg Block, Mr. Brick asks, you made a feature to have ammo regenerating on weapons. Is there any timeline on when that'll be added, if it ever is? It will be added. Timeline, I have a bunch of other stuff on my plate right now. I kind of shifted to other pull quests that seemed more pressing, but I do intend to add the ability for outfits to regenerate ammo on the fly. Zara says cooldowns and charge up would be interesting, would be a good balancing factor too. Yeah.
Just got a new question in the sheet real quick. Are there planned countermeasures against cloak ships aside from saturation or in the fuel or area saturation? Like special tech of how Korg countered the pug. I will say, I think we should do a little bit more expanding on how cloaking devices work, because when I was playing some of Patir last weekend, and even Doom was watching, and he was also making a comment on this. Fighting ships that just cloak before they die is incredibly frustrating, and you have no way to deal with it until they come back and regen half their health.
Yeah.
So, having a bit more of a more cloaking device options or interactions would probably be a good thing to add to the game. Yeah.
I mean, something you can technically do now that's kind of a countermeasure is you can hit them with a special damage type that creates sparks on the ship. The sparks will still be created while the ship is cloaked, so that kind of gives it away. I think it would be interesting to have a damage type that is literally just for that purpose. Like, all it does is kind of paint the target, and then they can't cloak to get away. Alternatively, there is a damage type that there was a pull quest for. Yeah, Warp says didn't how to make that. No, what he did was a damage type that causes you to not be able to cloak. It's not the same thing. That pull quest got closed, but there's already a ships already have a cloak disruption attribute to them. Like a counter that says if this value is higher than 0, the ship can't cloak, and it's forced to uncloak if its value is higher than 0. But there's nothing that adds to it other than if you run out of resources to cloak, it'll add to this counter to make it so you're forced to fully uncloak before trying to fully cloak again. Couch added a damage type called cloaking damage that would add to this counter, but it never got merged. Because I think he went MIA, and it fell into a state of conflict with other stuff in the game. It would be very easy to reopen that and add it, though.
See a comment on
didn't like the
Twitch.
graphics. That's probably the case too.
On Twitch, I don't know if it was to this, but something about tractor beam targeting ships. That could be a part of it. Tractor beams, like the tractor beam and also the Incapia's one, because there is one, are specifically for minables, but there are still weapons, or there still could be weapons in the game that act like tractor beams that are specifically targeting ships, like the Heliarch. I forget what it's called.
Tractor.
There's a tractor, yeah. There's a Heliarch, a tractor, and repulsor. Those exist already. Those are tractor beams, technically. One of them is. The Korath also has the Banisher, which is not tractor beam, it's reverse tractor beam. But the point is that there is like a weapon in the game that acts like a tractor beam, and there could possibly be more in the future. So. Yeah, anti-cloak damage types. Oh, I see.
It's a Roblox game that has specific anti-stealth weapons that automatically target cloaked ships. It doesn't seem very cloaked to me. If they can be automatically targeted so easy.
Yeah, it looks like Derry was working on it and just hasn't had time to get around to it.
Many such cases. We've got a couple more submitted questions here. Is it possible to add flares or guidance counters? I don't know, maybe. Why is the campfire earlier than usual? Why is your clock wrong?
Where do
We
you live
started at
there?
the same time. It's your clock that's wrong, not mine. Yeah, seriously, Sirday points it out. That fuel and daylight savings in some countries, yeah. We changed our clocks in the US at the start of March, I think it was. Um, the 8th. So the day after the last campfire chat. And then I guess a good chunk of the world isn't doing it until tomorrow morning. And then I think there's even other parts of the world that aren't doing it until the 12th. So it's just that time of year.
Mhm.
Alfred, that was a question of what did that mean?
Yeah, he's asking.
It's a repeat from the submission box.
I mean, when I think of like guidance countermeasures, we do have like jammers. Jammers are basically that, except on spaceships. But I don't know.
Well, when I
Um,
wanted to add abilities like this, people were like, "Oh, it's a stupid idea. It's a stupid name. Duh. Ability? What does that even mean?" I don't know. Like every single game ever has abilities that you can use.
ability is not the right word
It
for a
was stupid when you
spaceship. That makes
suggested.
no sense.
It's something your ship is able to do. It's an ability
Yeah,
of the ship.
I want my ship to have the ability fireball. Okay.
Sirius says,
Ice
aren't
spear.
secondary weapons abilities? In effect, yes. It's something you can select. It's an active ability. You have to select to be able to use it.
Warp. Flares and guidance counters is like chaff and flare on planes, except in space. So like, say you're using like a heat sinking missile or thermal seeking missile, and in the sky, maybe that like an example of a countermeasure would be like your ship shoots visible flares out. That might be good against that, but then they might suck against like better targeting missiles. I don't know.
Yeah, Blasting it gets it. Cloaking and Afterburners are technically abilities. We already have them in the game. I just wanted to add a more generic mechanic for it. And I wanted to use the name ability for all of these. People were like, "Oh no, that's a stupid name." It's like, "What would you come up with it?" And then nobody came up with anything else.
We did. You just didn't like it.
You guys would suck even more than mine. Everyone said missiles suck, so we buffed them too much, and now everyone wants a new way to stop them. And then they'll say they suck again because it's too easy to counter them, so we'll have to buff them again. Yeah, I will. On the specific question of chaff and stuff like that, anti-missile turrets kind of already do a pretty good job. Well, I guess the chaff would be something you could use on a ship that doesn't have turrets. Um, or
Missiles were never
some
weak.
that too. Also, we do already have jammers you can install, so it's
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
practically the same thing.
Nice for small craft. I don't think you realize how hard it is to hit small craft right now, anyways.
Yeah. We don't have infrared jammers, but we do have cooling. Yeah. Expendable counters for ships that can't spare jammers or turrets. I mean, I understand not being able to spare a turret, but jammers are kind of small.
Yeah. What is it, like 7 tons for the smallest one? 9?
Confirm that Russia doesn't exist in ES. Big if true.
More people ships than person ships? Well, I don't know. I guess I think you guys should yell at this guy who's talking with me and tell him to get a person ship. He just refuses. Not me. I mean, I'm a Phantom Cruiser and everything. Fancy.
I'm just not vain like that. Add a gym person ship.
Should turn down the spawn rate of outfits on person ships. You know, it's funny you say that because I already toned it down once. I think I had person ships and do it again. What makes you want to tone it down again? Is it the osprey that keeps coming in and blowing up everything, or is it? See, my problem with it is when those ships show up in like really quiet areas of space where there's no like spaceships and you get jump scared or like it just doesn't make sense. Yeah. It's like
It's the
15
15
afterburners
afterburners. That's what I was thinking. The noise went off in my head when we started talking about this.
Yeah, that's when I was working on the upper reach. Yeah, it's the upper reach. It's supposed to be like the most dead silent place in the map, and then you're flying around. You're trying to hear those little alien sounds, and you hear, boom, 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 and it's like, okay, I need you to get out of here.
The room is shaking. It's like an earthquake goes off.
Yeah. I was like very tempted and thinking of like, oh, maybe you should go in and edit some of these person ships so they don't show up in like the edges of the universe. But I mean, that kind of defeats the purpose of some of like the core people's person ships.
Nana says, in my honest opinion, they should feel more like an Easter egg. Blink and you miss it. Meanwhile, the modified Osprey speaks in bold font caps locks. Yeah, we probably could. I mean, what we could do is just make it so that that one shows up a lot less often.
If we do that to that one, we can also do it to the battleship, which is also allowed with its afterburners. Or
Yeah.
what's the other one? I think of another one. The authors are actually quite loud because it's 6 light warships with particle cannons. I guess it's not as bad as like going into Syndicate space and finding like a fleet of Quicksilvers, which are just as loud with particle cannons. But
Zobes, no, person ships are not always spawned in. Every 10 minutes on average, well, technically, it rolls a random number from 1 to however many frames are in 10 minutes. If it lands, well, 0 to however many frames are in 10 minutes, -1. And if it lands on 0, it does a attempt to spawn a person ship. And then it will spawn in the system you're in. It'll, like, fly into the system you're in. So, they're not constantly flying around in-game, and you just only sometimes happen to come across them. It does randomly spawn them at points. And we are able to...
between that...
I was going to say, we're also able to configure it so they don't show up in certain systems, but we don't do that for most of them.
Yeah. The difference between the Wandering Fleet and person ships, though, is the Wandering Fleet is actually something you can interact with and see present in the map as like an existing spawn. Person ships aren't supposed to be that. They're not in the game's lore. They're not always actively flying around stuff. They're supposed to just, as Nana was saying, pop in like an Easter egg and then disappear when you leave.
Yeah, the only... Yeah, I mean, some of them you can capture, but even those is just like an Easter egg type of thing. Aside from, I guess, the Marauder Fury. Ugh.
That one and the Firefly you can capture.
Yeah, but that one's definitely an Easter egg though.
Yeah.
Intended as such.
Make it toggleable, isn't it a setting, or is it still a plugin?
I mean,
add that as a game rule. Yeah, that's what I thought.
Technically, there's not a toggle for it. You can just jack up the spawn attempt timer so high that they practically never show up. I have thought of adding an actual toggle for it, though.
I mean, at the end of the day, maybe it's worth looking into them again and like doubling their spawn rate again, like making it happen less often.
I mean, we've done that with stuff before, where like I know in the past we have cut down on the offer rate of jobs in human space just because like people kept adding more jobs, and it came to the point where like you'd have a huge selection of things you could do every time you landed. So we kind of chopped everything down. It's probably the same case with the person ships. We just haven't looked at the spawn rates of person ships in such a long time that as we've added more, they've become more and more common. Because there is a chance within the even if it tries to spawn a person ship, there's a chance that that attempt will fail. but as you add more person ships, the odds of failure decrease. So that's probably something we want to look at.
Mhm. I can just have it again or something. Um, just had Zar says just had an idea using the person's mechanic to give each major faction semi-unique flagships. I thought about that in the past. It's something I wanted to do with the Gegno, but it comes down to like what do you need the flagships for? Is it something just interesting to see on the fly? Is it something you want as like a story element? Like, do you want to keep track if it dies and then they don't have a flagship anymore of that name? And I think I don't know if it's really worth doubling the size of the person ship file. I know it's not that much data, but like trying to get everyone to have fancy flagships or anything, especially when most named ships in the game are spawned in missions themselves. So like you have Danforth Cruiser, you have I think there's a named Dreadnought or a couple in the Freewoods campaign, stuff like that. Technically, any carrier you see is a flagship, but it's just kind of like it doesn't really add much, I think, unless it's specifically in story missions. On Twitch, over on Twitch, I got that on the monitor still. Is I'm gonna say this name wrong. Iselza, I think is was how you say it. More illegal outfits could be interesting, perhaps fuel additives or something similar. There's a couple new pirate outfits that we're looking at and possibly getting into the game when we take a look back at pirates. I know one of them, because I did the art for it, was like a smuggler's cargo bay that increases your scanning interference. And I think there was like going to be another afterburner. There was going to be what else? Just small things like that. Stuff to work around being scanned or not. But really depends. Machine workshop. What is with the random asteroids you can talk to? Says RPG mechanic.
We don't talk about that one.
There's and I mean it talks to you, so I mean
You ask
that's
it.
personship. Yeah, that's not real.
I do want to add a way to offer missions when you hail a ship. We could
That'd be
totally do
cool.
that.
I know one of the missions in the EV was like a trader ship would show up in a system and be like, "Hey, I need some help. Hail me and see if you can help me." And you would hail them, and they would like ask something like, "Oh, I need some fuel," or "Oh, I need you to take this cargo to this system because I'm gonna run out of time." And that was it was like small stuff like that.
I need you to give me all your.
With some gray outfits. I mean, yeah, Desco, some like outfits available in pirate space, but you'd get rest like illegal in normal space. I'd imagine like a few things like that would come with the addition of more pirate features, like the hidden planets. That was something that came up where you would only find like hidden pirate hideouts if you were part of like some sort of pirate gang or content in the future, something like that. Gatling gun, Gatling turret, jab turret, frag nades, a good start. I mean, I don't think we'd make the Gatling gun and turret illegal. We could. Probably not. Gatling blaster turret. Make missile pods illegal or better yet remove them. I agree.
That's going to be the same thing as like other stuff that we've talked about removing. And we just don't do it for a couple of years and then we finally do it. Just because someone
Well,
finally is like, okay, I'm doing it.
Anarchist has a PR open right now to change some missiles pretty drastically. It's pretty interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I want us to take a look at that soon too. And then after we get that looked at and possibly merged, then I'd be like, should we get rid of pods?
I haven't tested it, but you should merge it. Removing secondary weapon pods, yes.
Just the pods, not all secondaries.
Just the mini launchers.
Remove the finisher pod.
Mini launchers.
What finisher pod? Are you talking about the giant opposite of a pod? The Mailgorn launcher? Oh, I know this pod. The standard finisher launcher, yeah. I don't know. I keep thinking, I feel like the Mailgrind's so powerful every time I see that. But you get like 2 of them and you can like destroy like, I don't know, almost any ship.
Malk says, I would think that adding things would be better than removing them. Not always. Sometimes
Yeah.
things should just be removed. Because they don't actually... Either they're like so overpowered and like there's no point, like you're not going to balance them. Like for example, like yeah, Zara says the androids. We used to have an outfit you could buy. It was an android that would reduce the required crew of your ship. I don't know what that means exactly because we removed it. But it would reduce the required crew of your ship. It was just like a straight upgrade with no downside. And there was really no clean way to make it balanced, so we were just like, you know what, get rid of it. And by we, I mean MZ and him alone back in those days.
Do we have a guideline for how many things should be relevant at a given point in tier progression? Not really, but
Define
one thing that
things.
comes to mind. Yeah, one thing that comes to mind is there was a question earlier of, can humans have a new human ship to fight aliens? And my answer to that would have been no, because human ships and human content is for human ships and content. If you're getting out there and you're fighting alien factions that a human ship can't fight, then you should probably start upgrading your ship to alien ships. So, is that what you mean by like what tech is relevant at what given point in the story? Because you said things like Derpy said, I don't know what things is. Humanity is relevant once you get firmly into jump drive territory, which is a shame given how much content is human. Yeah, and that's perfectly normal because the game's a progression game. You completed a core part of the game, which is humanity, and now you're out there exploring other alien factions. So
Dog, my wooden pickaxe isn't useful anymore. That's crazy.
But yeah, we're not gonna like try and make every part of the game relevant at every section of the game. Like humans aren't gonna come back to be relevant against the core, you know, or something like that. But a lot of games, especially when you're growing up, are all about going ahead, not necessarily bringing in the stuff from the start of the game to the end. Expected it's ought to be rewarded for reaching the next tier by losing more content than you can find out there.
The content
Are you really
truly
losing
lost?
content though? Yeah, like you complete the human campaign. You at that point you've probably bought a lot of their ships, or you've done a lot of missions in their space, and you've moved on. You don't really lose the content. There's just not much. There's not really anything else there for you to do. There's more to do elsewhere.
I also do actually go back to human space to get a few outfits every so often. Like,
Yes,
if I haven't stocked up on like heat shunts, then I'm still using human cooling for a good while.
I use This is such a niche thing. I like electron beams. I use those. I like using the afterburners still until I like grab one from the Korath. I like going back and buying ships and putting alien weapons on them, even if they're not like the alien ship itself, which is more powerful. Yeah, electron beams are cool. MZ's Kestrel is like the iconic use of electron beams and ion weapons. I think that's the best combination. The best like aesthetic. Your selection of available ships guns shrinks when you reach tier 2. Does it really though? Because
I
go ahead.
changing the line of discussion here. How would we not do that? How would we have that not happen? Because if we make that not happen by making it the case that alien tech isn't actually that much stronger than human tech, then you could look at it from the other way and say, well, I found all of these other aliens, but like I don't care what they have because it's hardly different than what human space has.
Hmm. I'm not sure if your selection shrinks because humanity, it probably feels like it shrinks because humanity, because they're the core part of the early game, have the most outfits and ships of any other faction in the game, and that's kind of intended. But once you get to alien factions, yeah, they have less ships overall, or less ships in each particular faction. But there's more alien ships and weapons than there are humans. There's like twice more, if not 3 times more. I mean, look at the core; they almost have as ships and weapons as humanity does. But I guess that's like quote tier almost 2.5. How to avoid have enough breadth at the other progression epochs to make up for what becomes irrelevant.
I mean,
Perspective of these alien factions being completed.
Wanderers, Korith, Coalition, Remnant, all of that stuff is kind of similarly tiered, for better or for worse. So that's 4 different factions to make up for all the stuff in human space. I mean, we could probably run the numbers, but honestly, to me, it doesn't feel like that big of a drop once you've actually discovered everything that there is to discover.
I'm willing to bet some of it is because after the human campaign, and especially after the Wanderers campaign, because a lot of the, I guess if you want to use the tier system, quote, tier upgrades after human space are directly into high space, and then that's directly into Wanderer space, or if you want to go another route, it's Remnant space into Korth stuff, because you're Korth over there. Past that point, I think it's just because a lot of the game past like the main campaigns is exploratory, and not every alien faction in the game is going to be an upgrade or something like that. So it's going to seem like there's less opportunities for progression because there's not a human level of content of alien ships and weapons to upgrade to. But that's also, like I said, because it's exploratory. It's not meant to be like a here's part 2 of the human space. Here's part 3 of the human space. Like it's not. It's more wide than something like that. It's more. Does that kind of make sense? Wanderer is firmly above Remnant. Korth is a bit in between. Remnant ships obsolete, make human ships obsolete, and Wanderer ships obsolete the Remnant ships. So it feels like the 3 epochs. No common Avghan successors. Well, Avgi is going to be lower tier anyways, and successors is kind of in the middle as well with like high. So that's what I'm saying is like when you're looking at alien factions outside of like say Wanderers and Korth, it's less so about um another epoch or tier progression or however you want to put it. It's more so just about finding more story. I'm not sure if that's the same line of there should be more of that content should be like progressive or not. Are there any
Nana
factions
says
out there
there's
or
more
so?
than enough variables in play to allow some lower tier weapons to maintain a niche, even once you get to the higher tier kits. I think that that is largely how most of the alien tech ends up being. Human space is intended to be very simple, but also give you a lot of tools to mess around with. Just because like it's the starter location of the game, you want to have a lot of stuff there to kind of get people's attention. Then, as you get into alien factions, each individual alien faction that we add to the game is not going to have the same amount of content that human space has. But if you look at all of the aliens that are within a similar range of strength to one another, no one faction has, since no one faction has everything, then there are actually bits and pieces of each faction that can be useful, even if another faction has one particular outfit that's stronger in a certain scenario. So, for example, the Remnant have ships that can cloak. You can't really get that from anywhere else. They also have, you can buy the what's the name? The inhibitors. You can buy inhibitor cannons from them. You could plunder detainers from Korath automata ships, but if you aren't plundering a bunch of tech from the automata just yet, then detainers are like a really good source of slowing damage. You can't really get that much anywhere else. In a similar vein, even within human space, people were talking about how electron beams actually have a fair amount of staying power. Another thing that has a good amount of staying power is the plasma cannons. People use plasma cannons pretty effectively against the Korath, for example. I think one of the more effective loadouts when fighting the Korath in the Wanderer campaign is actually to bring a bunch of plasma cannons. Because you do, like, unlike flamethrowers, you're actually putting out a decent amount of DPS. You're not limited by fuel, but you're also stacking up a decent amount of heat damage. Assuming you haven't loaded up on Wanderer Sunbeams. But I think plasma cannons do more heat damage than Sunbeams, right? So they still kind of have that niche of overheating a ship a lot faster. But you could go through each faction to kind of point out, like, this is their kind of standout set of ships or outfits that, even as you find other stuff, there's nothing that really overcomes this. Also doesn't help that 3 of the tier 2 factions are beam that deletes all HP. To be clear, I like the progression. It just feels kind of odd that, at least at present, your selection seems to shrink as you progress. Maybe the stuff in progress will solve this. Hard to guess since it takes so long to complete. No shade. Yeah, that's probably part of it too. Is just the game is under perpetual development, and we slowly add things with time and flesh things out. As pointed out, there's no one tier 2 faction that has a completed story just yet. So these are likely things that will be resolved with time, and if they don't get resolved with time, then at least a resolution becomes easier and clearer.
I do think, as you're talking about the Wanderer ships using the Korath beam weapons is basically late game. I mean, that's true. I that's very popular because the Korra Wanderer ships health pools and hull beams are pretty good against a lot of ships. I guess well, I would ask like ourselves, we really add many other tier 2 species to like rival something like the Wanderers, or even like in between the Wanderers and the Korg, and I don't know. I don't really know.
I will say too, at least for me, kind of given the fact that I've been around so long, this doesn't feel like a one and done game. It's not a let me make my forever save file and then I play through the story and now I have a fleet full of automata and wanderer gear and I've basically beaten the game. I like to replay the game. I like to choose different ways to approach things. One pilot I might just use human tech for the main campaign, and then kind of pick up tech as I go, just based off of the story. And another I might intentionally go to high space or remnant space or coalition space, and kind of get a single like kind of well kitted ship with tech that's slightly better than human stuff, and then do the main campaign with that. Or I might ignore the human the human campaigns and just go off and do something else. So from the perspective of like I'm just trying to get the best stuff possible, like I've reached tier 2 and now I have all the best stuff. What next? It's not really anything next. I understand. But at that point I would kind of just suggest like, hey, if you still want to play the game, start a new pilot, do something different the next time around.
I do think a good example is the Coalition, though. I think once they have like their story in the game and you have access to Heliarch tech, like for legally, I think that'll be like a really welcome hole filled in terms of more ships to use around tier 2. Because I'd love to like start the game and then before I go into Wanderer's Story, maybe have like a interdictor or something like that. Start using finishers. So I do think it's reliant on other factions in the game being completed. Invest in mods. I mean, yeah, that's always like a given. Like, if you want more content, go try out some plugins. They really like to break stuff. But I understand this is more for a vanilla experience. So.
There was somebody who opened a thread on Steam and was like, "What do I do next? I've played through all the story. I've installed a bunch of mods. I've done everything. Should I just install the game?" And I'm like, "You can't just wait for the next update, you know?" Like, Blastiness says touch grass. Yeah. Like the
I mean,
this isn't intended to be like a live service game that you come back every month or every
yeah,
season to see what's new and grind the new battle pass. Like, take a break from the game. You know, it's not, we don't benefit monetarily from people playing the game for longer, so it's not like we're trying to keep you forever. Just have it be something you play on and off. There's been people
it's
who
just
they show up after like, oh, I haven't played this game in years. I'm so glad to see it's still getting updates. And then they play through like 5
mhm,
updates worth of stuff. And for them, I'm sure that's like a great experience to be able to see all the new stuff. So if you take a break from the game for like a year or
yeah.
two, we're still here. We're still cooking.
The way I see it is, it's like a lot of the games you grew up with. If you were a beta tester for one of those games and you were playing the same content over and over and over until the game is finally released, you'd probably get a little bored with it, and you would probably want more out of the game after it was released. But when the game was released, that was from start to finish. There was no really things adding on to it at that point. So that could get a little bit bland. And of course, that's where mods and plugins and things like that came from for video games overall, was just adding more content beyond that. So that's what it comes down to. Is like it's still kind of like a beta, kind of like an open test still. The game's not done. When it's done, the game's probably not going to drastically change and have a bunch more content or like DLCs or anything. That's up to creators with like plugins and mods and stuff. So, but does that mean there's more content coming? I mean, there's still half a map that's not there. So,
Still a lot of campaigns that need done.
yeah.
Still a lot of features we want to add that aren't in there.
Hmm.
But we're not stopping.
We're not starting either. No, we get to it as we get to it.
Yeah. I could get to it a lot faster if you just let me merge all my stuff.
I didn't say you couldn't.
That's permission right there. Be careful. You've opened Pandora's box. That happened at work. I asked somebody if they could do something, and they're like, "You can do it yourself." Like, I mean, it ain't in my job description, but you've just opened Pandora's box. I'll do it. And then I started doing a bunch of other stuff. Just because we needed it, and this guy wasn't getting to it because he's busy with other stuff.
Hmm. But that's definitely on my list of things to do. Everyone in their like family wants to make their own content plugin, among other things. Because like a long time ago, I was trying to do a Horse plugin. I want to add like a vanilla balanced galaxy to the game someday as a plugin. I think that'd be cool. Like a
We
smaller one
call
or
it Shields
something.
Down.
No shields. All ships are armor only. Why do you think I made the Gegno without shields? Any weapon that has like more powerful damage to shields is just gonna suck all of a sudden
Deserved.
because everything's hull. No hull
No
shields
hull shields
only.
only. Piercing weapons become instant deaths.
What do you mean? He said no hull. That means there's gonna be just nothing. There's no ships.
It's just a moving energy field. Velos, yeah.
It's true. Velos have hull. It's just one.
Why not?
Yeah, like 1 point.
I'm sure Eevee didn't have piercing weapons, right?
They did.
So you could just instantly die.
The only ships that had piercing weapons was the Velus's in-lore enemy, which you can't get, and one of the factions in the game, like one of the very last weapons you could get from them in their story was a Velos tech weapon that pierced things. So you could like go and shoot the Velos with their own technology. And I think the Velos, like at the end of their story too, also like they had the what is it? Like the something storm. The Velos had their own piercing beam, and that's about it.
All right.
It's like 3 things. That's about it.
When is the next tournament? I don't know.
Where's
I don't run
Zora?
those. This was actually last time. Come on.
Ask Zora.
Post your own, yeah.
Post your own.
Be the change you seek in the world. All right, well, I think it's a good time to start wrapping up here because we are over an hour and a half now. Lightning round. 5 minutes. Ask whatever you want. We may or might not answer it. We get to choose. Golf minigame when? I'll think about it. Where is the Easter Bunny? Right behind you. Turn around. Will Taylor ever become a dateable character in your dreams? Santa personship? That would actually be really funny. Accurate religious calendars for every world religion when? I have thought of making a generic calendar system because I think it would be cool to have, like, if you start off as a high or something, or like have an alien start, they wouldn't have the same calendar. So it should totally be a different calendar. She was already dateable in the Mass Effect game, says Warp. Okay. Kill Santa, question mark. That should result. So somebody earlier said you should have a mechanic that crashes your game intentionally. That would be one of those cases where if you kill Santa, your game just crashes right then and there. The gift bringer already exists. Shows up and fills your cargo with coal depending on rank. First mate start where your captain has died of a heart attack suddenly. I think I saw you say that earlier. You could make that as a plugin. I would like to have starts that are like an advanced start, like you start already with a decent ship and in credits instead of just being all of these like your first time pilot starts. But that's for later. Klingon start when you kill your captain. That's called the alpha start. I'm working on it. Navy start when you have character. Well, you have carrier.
That just went
No,
down.
no. Take the first one. Take the first one. Navy start when you have character. Disney start when you start with both your parents being killed. My original idea for the Paradise World start was your parents die in the bombing on Martini. I don't think that got added when anarchists opened a pull request for it.
Joker.
Batman start where you are constantly being harassed by the Joker.
Yeah, and he's like in a Quicksilver that just keeps knocking you away.
Batman start where it's the absolute Batman.
You get the Batmobile, the Batmode ship. I don't know.
Disney Princess start where your stepmother takes 95% of your income each day. I got these scars. Martini start, you die instantly from being nude. Somebody should just make like a meme starts plugin. It just has all of these different starting scenarios, but they all just like end super quick.
Can the starts page scroll?
Daredevil start when the screen is black the whole time. Hey, the very first question was about adding a screen reader. That would actually be helpful for that. add the Infinity Stones? No. Start where you 1v1 Archon with a box wing?
I mean, you can survive, but you can't kill it.
Freshly honorably discharged from the Republic military would be interesting, or dishonorably for a pirate start. HR start, you've just been fired. Different HR, okay. That could end very poorly very quickly. Start being hunted by pirates and cops, the damaged ship. I
Cool.
want to add a pirate start where something kind of like that happens. Taxes and tariff update 1. Sounds like a Minecraft update. Taxes and tariffs. Minecraft 26 point something stupid. 26.2. Because they changed their numbering system. We're not changing our release number system. Never ever. Taxes and tariffs game drop, yeah. I hate Minecraft. Lottery win start where pirates await you when you leave the planet for the first time.
All right, more varied questions. Stop asking about starts.
Yeah. We got two more minutes. 2 more minutes. We'll go to 45 after the hour. Can we add to the Steam store to the game that you can play ES while playing ES? I heard you like ES, so I put ES in ES so you can play ES while you ES. New Boston start where you get trapped in the crushing grind and never get a ship. Dang, that's too real. Casino added to the pirate planet. There's been talk about something like that, like mini games and whatnot. Add speeding tickets now. More scam events. Be the change you seek. I love gambling. Oh, dang it. Whenever we get to it. The asking 7 times isn't going to make it go quicker. All ships are loot boxes, technically. You're not wrong. Although, you can see inside them with a cargo scanner or an outfit scanner. Kind of ruins the surprise. Surprise mechanics, man. The surprises just moved to the scan phase. True. Maybe. Crazy rich person using box wings for loot box events, and then he goes crazy when you use the scanner. He puts 3 box wings in the spaceport and is like, "You choose a box wing and see which one you have." And if you have an outfit or a cargo scanner installed on your flagship, you can just go to your ship and like use it to see which one you want to open. That should so be a thing. Somebody work on that right now.
I'm not
box
gonna
wing
lie.
storage wars, yeah.
That makes me like I just had a thought idea. Like, what if we had like a small mission series where there are 3 hidden treasure box wings across human space. You need to go find the 3 planets that have them at, and then when you find all 3 of them, you get like a reward or something. I don't know.
I want to do treasure hunts.
I think that'd be cool.
You find a treasure map on a pirate ship or something.
That's cool.
And it doesn't actually tell you where the destination is. It gives you like riddles, and you have to find it out. Technically, you could just stumble upon the planet. But...
You get to do a treasure hunt in the Abgi campaign? I don't remember that. Or are you talking
Is it
about
actually possible to do mission change with FTL style unique options based on equipment? Yes. So missions can create conversations. Conversations can contain branches that choose where the conversation goes based off of a condition, and then conditions can look at the outfits on your ship. There are already some missions in the game that use that. Sirius Blue Jewel has counted down for us. Time is up. 1 hour and 45 minutes has passed, so we will now end the stream here. Happy Passover plus Easter plus belated happy Eid al-Fitr, says Siriday. Yes, happy Easter. Anyway, thank you everybody for being here. Thank you for hanging out with us and making developing this game worth it because you play the game. Heart emoji. As I said at the start, we do this the first Saturday of every month, which means the next one will be May 2nd. Same time for the US. If your clocks change, it'll be a different time. But if you were here before the clock changes stuff happened, then it'll be the same time again. There is a submission box where you can submit questions beforehand if you do not think you'll be able to make it to the next one on time. We also stream these on Twitch while they're happening. So on my Twitch channel, there will be the replay, and then Hector usually takes care of putting the replay up on YouTube as a more permanent form of storage because Twitch is, I don't know, stingy. They don't like to store streams for long. Anything else to talk about? Oh, like I said, new update 3 weeks from now. Get ready for it. Should have a lot of cool stuff in it. Everyone else is quiet, so stand it there. See you guys next time.
Yeah.